watch fans? Rob's back for episode number 4 of Rob Reports. Great to be with you today, and yet again we have a viewer submission. A viewer of the channel wanted this done for a video, and I am more than happy to oblige. We have one of the newest releases from Hodinkee, from their limited edition series with various brands, and we have the Unimatic by Hodinkee. Reference is U1-H. So for those who don't know Unimatic, maybe you've been under a rock for the last 5 or 6 years, or maybe you just don't follow the smaller brands all that much. Unimatic is out of Italy. There are two gentlemen in Italy that, two friends I should say, that decided to get together and start designing and making watches, and they've become quite successful. They busted onto the scene back in 2015. Their first model was the Modelo Uno. It's the U1-A. As of today's date, they've released over 40 different versions of the U1. They've also branched out into the U2 and the U3, which are takes on different watches, whether it's a chronograph or a filled kind of everyday watch. One of the guiding principles that I found online in doing a little bit of research about them was they wanted to realize their idea of what a dive watch was while making things as clean as possible. I think one of the definite common themes of Unimatic is how clean their dials usually are. Very minimalistic, almost a Bauhaus style. They often will remove all markings except for maybe the indices for the hours and the hands, and maybe a Lume pip at the 12 o'clock on the bezel. Things like that has kind of made them famous. They take inspiration from a variety of different brands, whether it's Rolex, Blancpain. You could go down the list. They take inspiration from a variety of different brands and find a way to modernize it, make it a little industrial, and it works. It really does work. So like I've said before, all their models are, I guess maybe I haven't said this, but their models are limited and usually are in runs of a few hundred, maybe even less. They've done some special collaborations. They've done a SpongeBob watch. They've done a Nigel Caborn Antarctica watch. They've done a few others, but for the most part, they'll make a run and there'll be a few hundred watches, and they'll usually sell out either, within a day or so, or, very, very shortly, they'll sell out. And of course, then you'll see them on the secondary market for a nice little markup. But they traditionally have used Seiko movements. And one thing that I found interesting, again, in reading about them, was that they started with Seiko movements because they're fans of Seiko. That's what they started with, and in their collecting, their own personal collecting, and so they found it, kind of one of those things that just made sense to use the Seiko movements. This one does not use Seiko, and we'll get to that here in a second. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. So we've got a little bit of the history out of the way, and this is their box that they come with. Kind of a Pelican style, tough, rugged setup. A little overkill, but also kind of cool because it's dual purposed. And here we have it. We have the U1-H. Kind of ho-hum, clean lines, clean cards, not a lot. I guess there's nothing here serial number wise, but yeah, very clean. Let me zoom out a little bit there. So you can see you've got 2 spaces if you wanted to use this as a travel roll, which I think is cool, that when a brand takes into account that the box should actually have a purpose. It shouldn't be just a box to go in your closet when you're done. So I think it's definitely cool. Now, would I ever travel with this? If this was my watch, no. This case is pretty indestructible. I mean, you could take this, I guess, camping or out on the lake or whatever, since it's got that kind of waterproof seal and everything, and use it for that, but I would not use this as a travel case. You have a NATO that comes along with it. Somewhat standard affair. Brushed hardware, single pass, sewn keepers. Yeah, again, nothing bad, nothing overly great, just a basic NATO. And here we have it. Here we have, let's get this crazy box out of the way. Here we have the U1-H. Look at that gorgeous shade of gray. Hodinkee's been known to use a lot of gray, the Hodinkee gray, and I feel like this one has pulled it off flawlessly. It is an absolute gorgeous combination. Now, this release for Hodinkee consisted of 3 watches. You have this one, the U1-H. You have the U1H GMT, and then they have the U2H. So this one was their dive watch. It comes in at, according to their measurements online, let's just see how close we can get with my calipers. Hold on, let me zero that out. I feel like I can never get this right on camera. So 41.5, pretty close there, 41.5 for the case. You have 22 mil lugs. You have a thickness of basically 12.5. They say 11.25. I'm thinking that's without the dome, because if you look, there's the ever slight dome right there in that sapphire crystal, and I'm thinking they're getting the 11.5 without the crystal. There's just no way, I feel, oh, there we go. I just had it. I feel like there's no way you're gonna get 11.25 without taking off that crystal. So take that for what it's worth. It's still a relatively thin watch. Oh, lug to lug. They don't have that listed anywhere. So what I'm showing is roughly about 48.5. Nice little sweet spot there. Great dimensions. Kind of a flat profile, if you will. A little bit of curvature in the lugs draping downwards, but for the most part, somewhat flat. So if you have a flat wrist, it's going to work out great for you. All right, so we've got the measurements out of the way. We have rotating bezel, 120 clicks. Pretty ratchety. I don't get a lot of tinny feel. There is zero play, zero back play. One drawback to this bezel, in my opinion, I guess, would have to be the knurling. It's very, very fine. It looks really, really good. It matches the knurling on the crown right there. However, it's just not that easy to grab, especially when you're trying to fight some of the case right here. It's very difficult. So this is definitely kind of a 12-6 kind of bezel. It's not completely unusable. It's just not maybe as grippy as I would have liked, especially if I would have had gloves on or wet fingers, something along those lines. If I'm actually using this for diving, I don't feel like that's as useful as it could be. Now, mind you, I understand this is a dive watch, but it's not generally going to be used for diving. Given the numbers and everything on the bezel, it's just not so, oh man, guys, sorry. This is actually a lot harder than it might look on camera. And the fact that this is, like I said, not that easy of a bezel. There we go. I just didn't want you OCD viewers to be out there yelling at me through the camera. But like I was saying, the visibility is the Lume plots and the Lume and everything is great. But the bezel is, even though it is fully indexed, it's not what I would consider like a true diving watch. You've got the Lume pip right there, but it would be extremely hard for you to actually time this under the water, just given, you know, the nature of how this is laid out with the monochrome kind of look. The hands, let's see if I can get that in. I always struggle with this. Sorry about that, guys. All right, there we go. So getting this dial in view, you can see that they've taken the Hodinkee gray and they've plastered it onto the handset. They've plastered it onto the dial, and it just works. You have a reverse counterweight there, a reverse lollipop, I guess you could call it there, on the seconds hand. And I find it a nice little touch that they paint that black on the seconds hand. I feel like that was kind of a cool little touch there that they didn't have to do, but it shows that they're thinking about all the aspects of the watch. They've gone through and removed the date from the dial. Traditionally, you'll see the date window at 6, which I'm also quite the fan of. You have amazing finishing on this watch. For the price point that it came in, you kind of expect it to be decently finished, and I feel like they've definitely done their job. The satin finishing is done very, very well. The crown is signed with a logo there. Look at that finishing, that satin brushing on the side is able to really grab the light. Lugs, again, relatively straightforward. They are drilled, which makes strap changing quite nicely, or makes it quite nice. The rubber strap is a TPU kind of rubber, similar to, I don't want to call it the Seiko, the older style Seiko straps, but somewhat the older style Seiko straps. It's definitely not vulcanized, where it's really pliable and has that vanilla smell. It's not like that. It's signed both on the buckle, on the keeper, and underneath, which I think is a nice little touch. Smooth, but yet it's got the texture, you know, the little rib pattern there on top. Makes it actually quite convenient when you're putting it on for it to kind of grab itself and feel secure. Forgot to mention, you've also got that same logo on the long side of the strap that you do on the crown. Again, nice touches. The owners of Unimatic are designers, and you can definitely tell because their design works throughout this entire watch, whether it's the color scheme, whether it's the small touches, again, the matching logos from the crown to the strap, just all sorts of little things that they've taken into account. It just works. All right, we've got the case back, again, made in Italy. You've got water resistance of 300 meters, automatic, so, and a Swiss movement. That's the difference here, is you've got a Swiss movement in here, an SW200. First time that Unimatic has been able to actually use the Salida-based movements. Like I've mentioned before, but it was traditionally Seiko. You can hear the winding. It's actually quite smooth. Actually quite smooth action with that. So kudos to them for being able to use the Salida-based movement. It's a nice step. It is a bit of a downer that they did leave the ghost position there. The movement does hack. Obviously, there's no date window to worry about, but they could have removed that first position, and they didn't. I understand, it does add a little bit of extra cost, but to make a truly special limited edition, I would have liked to have seen that. Power reserve is pretty standard as far as 38 hours. Crown is a little tricky. It takes a second to kind of get going when you are screwing it down. Bit of an interesting little, it's got extra little bit there. So take that for what it's worth. Overall, great watch. I feel like it gets really close to being an amazing watch, but it just doesn't quite get there. It's still a great watch. It's just not quite an amazing watch, at least not in my opinion. Would I be happy with this in my own personal collection? Yes. It's, again, a great watch. Great movement, great design, great finishing. It's got a lot going for it. And it's definitely something that looks familiar, but yet it's different. Again, taking those cues from Rolex and Blancpain and a variety of other companies, it works. It's not strictly a sub-homage. And I feel like now that they're throwing in the Swiss movements, that you're going to be able to start seeing a lot more from these guys. Thanks for the time. And again, just remember, keep wearing those watches. Alrighty, we're back. Here is the all-important Lume shot. You can see in complete black that it's clear as day. It's kind of got a greenish hue to it. Not sure on the type of lume that is used, but very, very recognizable as far as the orientation, 12, 369, all that stuff. The counterweight on the seconds hand, like I indicated, is on the back side of it, which I wish they would have done on the front side so you could actually see, rather than waiting for the second hand to pass over a lume pip. I'd like to see the counterweight there move to the other side so you can actually see the seconds hand. But overall, great lume.